วัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Sala Sudasiri Sobha, Sala of Blessing, Sala of Giving. Today's concert is supported by the Embassy of Israel. On the occasion of Thai Father's Day and in memory of His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej the Great, the Embassy of Israel joins in with all Thais to celebrate with digital concert performed by two renowned artists from Thailand and Israel. Nat Yontararak, Thailand's Outstanding Contemporary Artist Silapathorn Award, and Noa Chorin, the Principal Cellist of Israel Chamber Orchestra. Today's concert will take you through Thailand, the classical music world, and Israel. We will begin our concert with Falling Rain, graciously composed by His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej the Great, describing the beautiful and prosperous land of smile, of food, and of agriculture. Then our two artists will invite you into their classical music world as this year celebrate 250th anniversary of Beethoven's birth. As classical musicians, both of them will perform the first movement of one of the most challenging cello sonatas by Beethoven. Lastly, our concert will end with a little trip to Israel, Jerusalem of gold. Now, put on your best earphones and enjoy the concert.
Swadikap. Thank you for letting us be part of this very special concert in honor of King Rama IX. The State of Israel and King Rama IX have very, very special relationship. When King Rama IX started and founded the philosophy of sufficiency and the royal projects, he was looking around for countries who could be part of this vision and philosophy. And indeed, he approached Israel, which he thought are part of this philosophy and share the values that are the basis of this philosophy. And he invited quite a few Israeli experts to come to Thailand and work in the royal projects hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with Thai farmers all over the country in irrigation, in cultivating, and in farming. And indeed, Israeli experts in the 60s work in a lot of royal projects. Some of them we are still working to date. The most famous probably is the royal project in Hop Kapung, where as recent as last week, we inaugurated yet another greenhouse just last week. I should mention also that King Rama IX made a point of sending the young princesses, then Princess Doron and Princess Chulaborn, to Israel to spend a few weeks in a kibbutz in Israel and to have a first-hand experience in Israel of the life of Israel. And indeed, later on during the years, Princess Chulaborn went quite a few times to Israel to keep the strong ties between herself and the people of Thailand and the people of Israel. So we are indeed very, very proud and very honored and privileged that we could be part of this special relationship between the people of Israel and the people of Thailand. So again, thank you very much for letting us be part of this special project and special concert in honor of King Rama IX. Kap Kun Kap.
So I am here today with Noa Chorin, our cellist for today. As we talk together a lot and we've had many conversations during some rehearsals that we've had here before, I noticed that you have very interesting childhood. Actually, very interesting to share with our Thai audience and maybe other people who are not from Israel, because you grew up in a kibbutz. And I think that's very particular of Israel, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in kibbutz, which is something particular to Israel. Kibbutz is basically collective community which based on the ideological of Zionism and socialism. It was founded, the first kibbutz was established in 1909, basically before the Israel country was founded.
Yeah.
The idea of the European Jewish who came around the early 19th and also further on is to build Israel as a country for the Jewish people with their hands, like literally with their hands. So my grandparents, both sides of my mom and dad, came from Europe, and they established the kibbutzes, different kibbutzes. So my parents also born and raised in the kibbutz. Today time it changed a lot. It's not longer a commune, which is used to be. Those time it used to be really like a commune. It was a small community living together, sharing everything. The dining room we had the dining room that we all having our meals in the dining room all together.
Oh, with different families.
All the kibbutz together.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner we were having together in the dining room, dining hall.
Yes. So it's kind of like one big family that everyone.
Yes.
lives together.
Everyone know each other. It's small community. It's around the biggest kibbutz. It's around 1,000 people. Not more than that, maybe a little bit more. It's very small community and close community. So yeah, I was born and raised in kibbutz. It used to be like that. In my generation, no longer. In my kibbutz, no longer. But the children were sleeping at the children's house, what's called children's house. They were not sleeping at their parents' house. They went to see their parents 2 hours a day, maybe. But most of the time, they spent in the children's house.
Oh,
yes.
So all the adults there, they are kind of like
The
your
adults
parents too.
are busy with working in the
Ah.
field, agriculture, in the dining hall, in the children room, being teacher. They all sharing or giving their part to the kibbutz.
So everybody contributes something to the community.
Exactly.
Okay. And growing up there, like you said, that you know, the children's house and all that, you are very passionate about many different things, and
Yes.
especially in arts and music.
Yes.
So how did that sit in this kind of community?
Oh, there are two sides to the story. In one hand, I must say that I'm very grateful to my kibbutz, Ayelet Shachar, this is the name of my kibbutz, that supported in my interest and my passion. So my kibbutz paid for my education in music, in the cello, and for my ballet classes, my dance classes, which is something a bit unusual. Usually every kid in the kibbutz, because we all get the same, this is ideological of the kibbutz, that we all sharing, getting the same. So I was paid for another hobby.
Yes.
In the other side of it, I was always a bit different. It's just something very, I guess, subjective. I felt different, as my interest was different, and I think all the ideological of the kibbutz is kind of we all the same.
Yes.
Of socialism, we all the
Yeah.
same. And I wasn't really the same. My passion was very much in art, in music, in dance, and
So you're very passionate about what you were doing.
yes,
Even at a young age, you really love with cello, and you really loved it, and with your dance as well, you really, really love it. And I think what's really nice that you said that the kibbutz saw that you're so passionate about two things that it's so hard to choose, that they
Yes.
give you two things to learn.
also I remember then my teachers, the dance teacher, the ballet teacher, and also my cello teacher, they wrote a letter to the kibbutz to recommend to continue and support my study. That was also
But that's very nice of
very
them, yeah.
helpful. I remember that in the beginning of my cello study, I didn't realize because my kibbutz is very far away from the center, from Tel Aviv. It's very northern. It's actually 15 minutes from the border of Lebanon.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not really in the middle of all the art and music scene in Tel Aviv, and all the music school, the known music school and conservatory. So it was very hard for me to understand that I need to, for example, practice every day. Because no one used to practice every day from where I came
Yes.
from. It's not Tel Aviv that you can go and hear concert every day, and you're going to the conservatory and everyone practicing, so you have this atmosphere of let's work hard because there is competition.
Oh, yes, sure.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I think because of my mom is a music teacher.
Okay.
And she helped me with that a lot. And I had a great cello teacher. He's like a father to me, or a grandfather to me. I think, deserved to him. I'm playing the cello and I love music because he gave me this passion. He made me fell in love in the instrument and music.
Yes.
He was such a special character and such a special figure to me.
So not only that you have your own passion, but also actually your teacher means a lot to you.
Yes.
Having someone who can transfer that passion and not being just a teacher telling you, teaching you the skills and the techniques, but
Yes.
also to inspire you
Definitely.
to do music.
Yeah.
And how did you divide time to practice? Because you mentioned that like you're not used to practicing because there's nobody else doing that much of music.
Yes.
How
So
do
my
you
mom,
measure that?
my mom tells me that in the beginning, my first year, I didn't practice a lot. Don't tell it to my students. I didn't practice a lot in the early years. I started to practice later when I started to go to the conservatory, which was in different kibbutz.
Yes.
and to meet with people with children who also play the instrument, and that gave me motivation. And I went to master classes and some seminars, and it gives me motivation. I went out for my small kibbutz, and then I saw other children who played, and that gave me the motivation to start practicing. And then I was also dancing. I was basically a very busy girl. I didn't really have free time. I was going to school. Sometimes I woke up before school to play scales.
Oh, okay. So you practice like before school and after school?
Yes. So I woke up at 6. I played some scales. I went to school and came back. Sometimes I went directly from school to the dancing class or to some rehearsal in the conservatory. So basically almost every day I had something.
Okay.
But that was good for me at that time because I didn't really find myself in the kibbutz, let's say, society, in the kibbutz children house or children environment, because I felt I guess I was different.
So in a way, your passion becomes your sort of sanctuary. You can say that, like, because you really feel safe with music and with that, and you get to spend so much time doing these two things, and with your passion that drives you forward, like after, because you didn't stay in the kibbutz forever, then you move out, and I think you continued in music studies, right?
Yes, so I moved to Tel Aviv after my army service as an outstanding musician. We are very lucky to get this kind of outstanding of conditions that allow us in the army to keep our practice and concerts and auditions and competition.
Because everyone has to do this service.
Yeah, it's mandatory. Yes.
Yeah, it's mandatory for everyone, whether you're a musician, artist, or whatever. Everyone has to do it.
Yes.
And with this special condition, or as a musician, in a way, it allows you to have some time to practice. No?
Yes. We got special condition for musician. It's we need to stay 6 hours a day in the army, and we get day off if we need to go to competition, concerts, and audition. So it allows us to continue with our career.
I think it's very nice that it doesn't, during those times, even though it's not easy to do this, but I think at least it still allows you to pursue your hopes and dreams, so that you don't have to, because for musicians to stop practicing for 2 years, that's just impossible.
Unfortunately, not every musician or artist get it. You need to play an exam. It's a little bit like a competition. You're playing an exam, and then they give you score. And then the army says, okay, this year we're accepting 10 outstanding musicians for girls and 10 places for boys. And then the higher 10 score gets this condition.
Wow.
So,
So I think your music journey, like, if I can call it the music journey, you've gone through a lot doing that, like from, finding your passion, really show everyone that you really want to study these things as a young girl, and then go on with your music studies and really even go through the military service.
Yeah, I think I had many ups and downs. I think it's normal for any musicians, but sometimes you want to be normal. It was so hard for me to practice every day. It's such you need such a high self-discipline, and for that, if you're living in a place like where I was born, you need even higher self-discipline, because you don't have these support systems that you have, for example, in Tel Aviv. The many kids are doing the same, and music schools that you can attend to.
And determination, I think.
Yes.
That's very important to just have that.
I wanted to quit, I think, like 100 times, but I knew somewhere deep in my heart that I told my mom when I was young, I cannot handle with it, but I cannot handle also without it, I know it.
Yes, it's very important. I think once you know you can't live without it, you have no choice. You have to do it.
And I think the one of my biggest conflict, it was when I understood I don't have time to proceed with the dancing and the cello, and I needed to choose because it was too much already. I didn't feel that I could proceed with the dance as a hobby. It was never a hobby to me. I was very much connected to it, and I didn't want to proceed as a hobby 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And I really had the feeling that if I'm doing it, I need to do it professionally. And I couldn't do both professionally, and then I needed to choose. And it wasn't so obvious for me that I would choose a cello.
So how did you manage to choose?
I really loved my teacher, my cello teacher.
So it's very important to have an inspiring teacher.
Yes, and this is something I take with me all the time when I teach. I always remember that I was choosing the cello because of my cello teacher. And when I'm teaching, I always keep it in my mind. I need to be a big influence and a great figure to my students. Not less than that. I'm trying my best, I always trying my best because it's in this age, in these small ages, it's about that. It's about connection.
Yes.
And about being someone, educational person.
Yes.
And not just I teach you how to play the cello.
It's more than that.
It's way more about more than that, and you know it because you have a big school here.
Yes.
It's much more than that.
Yes.
And I'm trying.
So what would be the last thing I think that would be really important that you would like to advise or suggest, or just a few words for some young musicians who are passionate, or who sometimes had doubts, like you said, like many times you want to quit like 100 times. What would you say to them?
I really believe it's a hard profession. You really need to love it.
Yes.
Deeply love it. Honestly love it. So just ask yourself very honestly and be courage with yourself. And ask yourself, do I really like it? Do I love it? And can I live without it? And if the answer for the last question is no, so just be more easy with yourself. If someday you feel that you cannot practice, that's fine. Nothing will happen. Because sometimes you're so stressed about practicing, and we make ourselves crazy.
Yes.
With the guilt that if we miss 1 hour of practicing, or we miss 1 day of practicing. And I think if I would now know that if one day I won't practice, nothing will happen. If the other day I practice, good.
Yes.
And I will encourage them to go to concerts. Attend to many concerts as possible, because that gives you motivation and
inspiration.
And inspiration, and you learn a lot from listening. I didn't do it enough as a child because I didn't have enough opportunities. From where I was born in the kibbutz, there were not many concerts going on there, and meet with other students and play together.
Yes.
And remember that most important thing is to make joy, that the music is a joyful thing.
Yes.
And as a kid, as a child, I didn't enjoy it a lot. I loved it. I loved music, but I was so hard with myself. And I didn't enjoy it a lot.
So enjoy it. That will be the most important
Enjoy
thing.
it. Have fun. Work hard. Practice. But
Yes.
also be nice to yourself. If you're playing some wrong note, so okay, you can fix it later. But nothing happened.
Yes.
Just be a bit easier with yourself. A bit forgiveness with
Yeah.
yourself. I wasn't like that with it. It took me years to learn it, and I think you can get better results if you're enjoying the process.
Yeah.
This is important to.
So ask yourself if you love it or not, if you can live with it or without it. If you can't live without it, you have to go on, obviously. And if you go on, be relaxed with yourself, but also work hard.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the things that we would leave you and our young musicians, these words of wisdom from Noa. And thank you so much for sharing your talents with us today. And we'll see who will come and share their talent with us in our next episode. Only at Sala Sudasiri Sobha. สวัสดีค่ะ